Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Ooh, how was your weekend? Long weekend. I didn't think about that when I spoke about See You Monday in the last recording on Friday. However, tomorrow we have a class starting on impacting poverty. It's going to cover economy, the behaviors of the economy that we live in, that you live in, and bring it all together. Community, social impact. Why? Because we have people living in communities that they don't want to, and you have the power to get out. So the donation fee is $80. I know I've said some to 85, but for the people that join my class, I am going to give them back their $5 because some paid that. However, moving on, inbox me, email me at ifwbuilders@gmail.com. My website link is www.wealthyliving.org. The information will be in the bottom. Contact me if you want to be a part of this class. It's going to be 4 weeks. I have documented for the different categories, but I think it's going to go further because I have some people in my leadership group that I want to add in there, like for real estate, teaching you how to get real estate. And yeah, we're going to go on from there. So I'm going to start with healing affirmations for the soul for today. Let me pull my cards, my affirmation cards out. And fasting and praying. A lot of us fast and pray for what we want, but I realized through my own experience and even looking at the Bible that it is a time and a season for everything under the stars. I did some recording information on the stars. I'm going to continue just a little, but those are things that you can understand better with coaching sessions, which will be in my description as well. So the wise men followed the star to this information because when you're fasting and praying, my question to everyone is, have we realized that there may be something that comes into our life we've never fasted and prayed for, such as someone being homeless, someone losing their job and not knowing how to get back to it, someone losing every part of their life, which adds to last week's discussions on transformation. A lot of people get locked up and blocked up in outside. And God, I've been doing everything that you said. What's happening? There is the process, and there is a testing in all of our lives. This is spiritual, and that's the part that most people are not really looking at. They're not looking at the importance of spirituality and the importance of their soul progress. Why your soul progress? Well, John said it, beloved, I would that you would prosper and be in good health, even as your soul prospers. Even should be at the beginning, I've always said. And yes, I do speak repetitive because it is important to get some information, as in when you're fasting. Did you ever think that you would come to a season like Abraham? Abraham had wanted a son of his own with his wife, and even the widow, over there with Elijah, same thing happened. And Abraham one day woke up and God told him to sacrifice his son. Now, sacrifice, we can see with Abraham is sometimes a leading of the spirit to see if you will follow the spirit. That was just the powerful part for me, because so many of us are looking at what's happening in the world during the sacrifice, or if God is asking them to do something and they don't really hear God, but the evidence of the sacrifice is all around them. The evidence of sacrifice is all around us, even now, where it looks like there's a famine, but there's plenty of food. There's plenty of money. No one should be homeless. No one should be looking at being homeless because of circumstances outside of us. The power that we gain is to come within and utilize the substance that we have within, which is that God is within us that connects to the universe. A lot of words that people don't want to hear, but universe, listen, universe linguistically is saying unite the verse, bring the verse together. How do you do that? Through unity. Bring the verses together. What verses are you speaking? So back to fasting and praying. Fasting and praying is not just led by our leaders, it is led by our spirit. So when the time came that Abraham had to sacrifice his son, he wasn't able to go and look for people because he didn't have anybody but God, it seems there, right? The point that I'm making is that he had to make a decision on who he was going to follow even at that time, whether it was going to be himself or it was going to be the spirit that was speaking to him. And so he did. He took his son up. But the finality of all of this is because the process, and he was being tested, my dears. We are being tested. And sometimes we're being tested even if we didn't sign up for spirituality. Sometimes we signed up before we came here for what we're going through. I believe that is period. We signed up for it. Right? We signed up for it because we would be someone that could change it. So when the time comes again for you and your child or your home or your family has become a sacrifice, like Job, what will you do? Will you sink into the abyss or will you pick yourself up, allow the process to purify you, and believe further in God? Stand steadfast, shake off the doubt of the world and what the world is showing you, which is you know nothingness now. You see nothingness now. I'm asking you to sacrifice your child. I'm asking you to give up something actually that belongs to the universe, that belongs to God. I'm asking you to be more mature. And I understand the pain of letting go of these things because you thought this finite material stuff was your God, maybe. But if you follow the process, Abraham, without knowing what's going to happen, faith, no substance to it, faith in the invisible, up the road you might find that I have a ram in the bush. Just do what I asked you to do, Abraham, Kim, and everybody out there listening. And what you might find is that there's a glorious celebration. Some of the things that you thought you lost have come back to you 10, 30, 100 fold, some 70, they said, 200 fold. Hey, So anyway, Abraham had that situation, and he had to change his mind, the way that he was looking at things. He also had to face another level of maturity that said that there are some things more important than fear. What should I fear when God is for me? Who can be against me when God is for me? The reasoning factor of your spirit man. Not allowing the enemy to take away everything that you put into this spiritual posture and fortification. Not allowing it to be taken from you. Move with God and see what else is up the road. And this is what Abraham did. This is what many of us have been doing. But I find that there are many that are devastated by certain things that are happening. You can't take away the grief that a mother is feeling. You can't take away the feeling of loss, but of material. You can't take away the mourning and the grieving because it's part of what we're supposed to feel when a husband and a wife separate or they're divorced. You can't even take that feeling of mourning and grief away from the children that are impacted. You can't take away the feeling of losses after losses in a community where people are born and live and they've never really experienced what it's like to flourish and be prosperous. You can't take it away. But what you can give them is the power of fasting, as Jesus told us. When you're called to make a sacrifice, walk with your spirit. That means that you're going to have to grow and become connected with your spirit if you have not. Because if you have not, the devastation of your worldly possessions is going to take you to a place where it's hard for you to get out. Many of us understand that, but that is the time when you begin to pull on God. I take you to the Beatitudes. The Beatitudes tell us that for your suffering, you will gain a reward. For your grief and your mourning, everything that Jesus teaches in the Sermon on the Mount is about what you will feel, but your rewards afterwards will be heavenly. So you read the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, and I'm going to give you one scripture, although there's some down in the box. Moreover, when you fast, be not as the hypocrites of a sad countenance, for they disfigure their faces. They're acting like they're fasting, but listen, God gonna bring us to a fast, and after we've been practicing about all of this here stuff of fasting, then He's gonna say, okay, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna make that sacrifice like Abraham? Are you going to keep looking at me and following me as Job did? You understand? Because that's what the kingdom is about. This is not something fake. The kingdom is real, but it's real as you feel it within. This is your power of substance. This is how you come up out of the depths of hell when you're in that dark void place in Genesis as God, knowing that you have the power through the substance of God, the God is within you, to rise yet again, right? So Acts 14:23 says, and when they had ordained them elders in every church and had prayed with fasting, they commended them to the Lord on whom they believed. So the elders and all of these people were commended to God through fasting. But again, my question is, what will you do when the day of testing comes? And the day of testing can feel like it's 10 or 20 years. You're going through utter nothingness. Everything you put your hands on, it slips away. How will you respond? Will you respond like the enemy in Galatians 5:19, or will you respond like 20 with love, kindness, and healthy words? Because loving kindness draws, right? So the sacrifice is necessary in our lives. Some things, the rug is pulled from under our feet, and some people get mad at God about it. What are you getting mad about? Life is worth living as you follow the path, the journey. The path is narrow, but it's straight. It is not veered off to the left or the right to say, okay, well, I've lost everything, so I'm nothing. The devil is a liar. You're everything, especially when you get up and you find a reason to live after everything is seemingly gone. Everything is seemingly gone because everything can be added back in some measure, right? But everything, God can give you happiness again on a greater level. That's what the testing is about. Will you believe without seeing the end result? So I want to just raise another point of view of the disciples. Who looks at the in-between part of the disciples being called, right? Because disciple is a word from the Greek, Greek language. It was also discipleship, pulled out of the Greek language. So in that being said, the disciples were called to discipline themselves. Fasting and praying is about discipline, right? But while you're financially praying for that substance, and this amazing financial substance, that it came out of my mouth because I wasn't thinking that. But while you're praying for finances and you are sacrificing for that, maybe look at why you've had to pray for it or sacrifice for it. Maybe you were like the disciples and you had to turn your everyday work into a work that was going to bless others. Maybe your works in the past were about worldly possessions and accumulations, because most fishermen, they sell the fish, right? Most doctors, Luke was not really known to be a disciple, but he was in that gathering. Most doctors, they work for money. Where is the doctor at that is going to sacrifice that and believe that God can take care of him while he gives to others? You see, that's the next level for us. Where is the person that lost their job and believes that if they give some knowledge from their job to the people, that God will bless them? You see, so here I give you a penny for your thoughts, and also ask you to give me some feedback there, because this is when we begin to grow. Um, Joel said, I gave you the years of the cankerworm. I'll give it back to you. What the cankerworm and the locust ate up, I'll give it back to you. They can't eat up your harvest, especially when you have learned that your harvest is about the godly things, goodly things, being a part of a world that is going to increase the spiritual realm and others who are in need, right? And so you'll have to see how that fits you, but use your work on a spiritual level to get you through the recreation part of your transformation, where you're looking at recreating. What do I need to do, God, with myself? Look at what you've done from the beginning of your life. Even look back at your childhood. I teach in my leadership group, the mission is in the beginning of your life, on what you are called to do and what you can do for people. You know, if you were financially strapped, then you can teach on economics. You can also teach people from the place, if you've risen above the winds of change in that area of finances, you can teach people how to become financially free. There are people that talk about credit, teaching on credit, social impact. You can learn how to become more sociable, not just with partying, but also with mingling for the influence of social impact. You see? All right, so here we're going to pull um, an affirmation for today, and I'm going to let you go on. I definitely hope that you got the sacrifice does not mean that the world has come to an end for you. The sacrifice means that there is a greater level opening up for you, because we're tested. Just like we're in school, we graduate from college, we're going to be tested spiritually on giving up on something, but not, and putting it in God's hands. Yeah. Right. So how about this here? Because face your fears. Face your fears mean that you even have to give up a bad attitude. Face your fears means that you have to become vulnerable. Most people have bad attitudes, or low vibrational ways of thinking, because someone told them that they were great in it. They felt good about the way that they treated someone. But if they face their fears, they will see that it's okay to cross over from Exodus into the Jordan, or do the Exodus type of walk into Jordan to overcome the beast within themselves. It says that fear is greater than God. Most of these people are sick and suffering anyway. Mentally, they can't hold on to anything that they really love or want. They've sacrificed everything for their fears. I want to be in the sacrifice of Abraham. So facing up to your fears can often show you that there wasn't that much to be afraid of after all. Yeah, you just man or womaned up. You decided to change your way of thinking, because Abraham had to face his fear. Many of us had to face our fears and say, get up and move forward. Get up and move forward. You had to talk to yourself because of the pain that you were going through and the paralyzing thoughts of what you experienced. But you are the power of your transformation. You are recreating yourself with the divine. You are the divine substance when you get to the place where you say, you know what, forget fear. And it says sometimes the fear of something is actually worse than the thing itself, because at the end of the road, there's a blessing. It's how you see it, and it's how you desire it to be actually in your life. You take on the idea of knowing that you and God are one. That's what Abraham did. The funny thing about it is, again, I put this in perspective, is that it was something that he didn't have. God had promised him, and now God was taking it away. What a sacrifice. But you will know your heart, and God will know your heart when you go on and walk with giving the sacrifice back to God, because nothing belongs to us. That's the end of the conquest, to know that everything belongs to God. And so all this selfishness and doubt and worry and fear has been for nothing. It's been for naught. So you guys have a wonderful day. Be blessed, share, and like. And yeah, I love you. How about that? Substance is what we are. We're moving on. Join my classes. Bye-bye.